Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. 5 on 5.
Okay, so we have the one and the two, and we have the assignments. Well, I've been off for some time. Daniel, please, how do you like check the assignments and stuff like that?
All right. So basically, they send the URL of the code they have pushed online in the group, and from there we'll review it. But the assignment of day two, I think nobody has pushed the code yet so far, so I've not been able to review it. But Fritz did something and he had some issues. I think he will table his issues here for us to help him finish it. And Clovis completed it, but I'm still to review his code, so that's it.
Okay, no problem now. So basically, I had a discussion earlier with Daniel. So this platform. I'm going to share the link right now within the chat. You can all go through it and we look at it together. So UIDesignDaily.com. So if you come here, there are a couple of designs that we're actually going to be using, and your assignments will actually start coming from here. So basically, what usually happens is you have these different I could probably call them like small sub modules of a bigger application that have already been designed. You can probably just come here, you get them, and you can make use of them. So let's take for instance, please just to confirm, you can all still get me right and see my screen.
Yeah, positive.
Okay, so let's take for instance, I'm going to take something small as for a demo. Okay, so let me just choose this. I'm going to click on this one. So clicking on this one, we see this option here. I've shared a link within the chat. You can all go through it. So we see this cards and we see this download file button here. So this thing. So if you click on this, it's going to download what we call the Figma file of this particular design. So if you download this, I'm sure it should be downloading. Okay, that's it. Okay, so after it's downloaded, I'm going to go to Figma. You can all create an account on figma.com. I'm going to also send the link right now in the chat. Please, as I'm sending the links, please just get them and save them at once. So you come within Figma, so you're going to be presented on this interface like something like this. And what happens is you're going to see this button here, import file. So I'm just going to screenshot this thing again, and I'm going to send this again to the group so you can look at it. I'm going to screenshot this, and from there I'm going to put an arrow there so you can all look at it again later on. Okay, so I choose import file.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Please let me interrupt you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I've not been following up. You are really fast, very very fast. Man. Please.
Sorry about that. Okay, so like I was saying, right, we have this website uidesigndaily.com. So what happens is that they have different designs, right? So what I mean by designs, I mean website designs that have not yet been coded, simply UI UX, right? A representational graphics of what the website is supposed to look like. You get it?
Yeah.
Okay, now, so this is what we are going to be using as challenges, and this is where your assignments will actually come out from. So, for instance, we are doing now a quick demo on how to use this platform, right? And how you're going to go about your assignments. Now, what happens is that let me just go back to where I came from. Okay, I can't go back. Let me just get it again. Okay, so I said we are going to choose one of these designs and look at it. So I'm going to click on this one, and it's going to open. So this is it right here, right? I said once you land here, there is something they call Figma that they use to design websites. Is that okay? We are going to download this design and open it in Figma. I'm going to tell you why. So you when you're here, you click on download. You're going to download this file. I've already downloaded this. I'm not going to download it again, right? So since I already have this, now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to Figma. Like I said, you create an account on Figma.com. You go to Figma.com and you create an account there. Once you're done creating your account, you log in. You're going to see this button here, import file. So you choose this import file. You go to downloads. You get the file which you just downloaded. So it's going to import this file to your Figma workspace. So let's just wait, let it finish importing it. You're still getting me right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
fine
yeah,
and
yeah.
fine.
Okay, so this is it here. It is done importing. Now I'm going to click on this. I'm going to open it. So when I open it now right here, what happens is that I'm able to see all the font sizes, the sizes of each and every one of these individual items directly from here. So we get the designs from here and we move on to Figma. We import them here and we are able to use them. This way we are sure of that whatever font size, whatever fonts family that these guys made use of, we are also going to include that within our own designs. So if I click on this one, this Deborah Stephens, what happens is I'm able to see, if I go to inspect right here, to this inspect tab up here, I'm able to see all the CSS properties that have been applied to this guy, like the font style, the font weight, the font size, and a lot more, the color that was used and everything. Also, if we come back to UI design daily, we have this color palette down here which specifies the different colors that were used in this design. And these are them. Like, let's say, for instance, this 2C, 1C, 6B. If we come here and we choose probably, I don't know, this, I think I'm suspecting that it's somewhere around here. Okay, this is 291F68. Well, you can always get it from here or you get it directly from the designs, no matter the case. So at times, yeah, since as this palette is actually auto-generated from the designs itself, on this platform, at times the values may be wrong. So it's advisable you get them directly from the Figma file in case it is actually wrong here. Okay, so right now, since we have this now, what happens is that I'm able to get this image if I want to. And please, I don't know, is everything clear up to this point?
Yeah.
Are we there?
Yes, they are there.
Please, if you have any questions, please ask. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go on ahead now and stop sharing, right? Aliko, are you there? Aliko.
I'm there, yes. I'm getting you.
Okay, please share your screen and go to the platform. You get a design and you open it on Figma. Let's see. Can you do that? Can you get me?
Get you. I can get.
Yeah, so I was saying, can you share your screen right now and go to the platform? Let's see. Daniel, please, can you get me?
Yeah, I can get you.
Okay, please, anyone that is available. Who is? Yeah, you said something, Daniel, please.
Yeah, I said I can get you. Should I go to the platform and share my screen?
Yes, please.
I don't know. I'm unable to share my screen. They're telling me an error has occurred. I don't know.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So basically, how am I to open on Figma?
You have to download it.
Okay. After downloading,
You go to figma.com and you import it.
okay.
Please, I hope we are all following because this is what we are actually going to be using. I'm emphasizing on this so that it's going to actually make the process a lot much more easier. Your assignments and how we check them, please.
So now I'm importing the Figma design.
Yeah, so when it's done, that's it down there. You can click and open it.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Can
Okay, so can we all do what Daniel has just done? Are we there?
Yeah, I can get you well.
Clovis and Mark, please, are you guys there?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Please, when a question is being asked, it's very, very important that you actually reply so I know that everyone is getting and everyone is on the same line. Because if you don't ask questions or probably you don't concord to what I've said, later on you come and you ask questions within the group. I doubt if I'm actually going to respond, but I have to respond, right? Okay, so Daniel, it's okay. You can stop sharing your screen now, and then I'm going to take over from there.
All right. All right. Sounds good. I've already covered a lot, and some people still join.
Okay, so can you all see my screen again?
Yes, I
Yes,
can see
I'm
you.
seeing your screen.
Okay, so after you import the designs here right here to Figma, right, you're able to now probably go within um your code editor. I don't know how you do your assignments, but I'm going to check the format later on after the class. I'm going to have a discussion with Daniel. Then from there, we are going to see how to probably structure some things. Okay, so let's say for instance, after having come here and I probably have the designs right now already in Figma, I can now go on ahead and start probably like structuring my stuffs and designing, right? So please, Daniel, you guys already started CSS, right?
Yeah, yesterday was like a brief introduction to CSS.
Yeah, okay. So I have that and I create my style sheet. Let me just call this index.css and let me use the same syntax that you guys have been using recently. So I'm just going to go with styles. Styles, right? Yeah. Oh, a typo. Okay, styles, and I'm going to link it to my HTML just like that. So we have it like that. Then now what happens is from the Figma file, I'm able to get the images as I want. So I'll simply click and select on the image. I come to the design tab. I scroll right down. I go to export. This is export here. I click on export and I choose that. So I click to export this guy from the design. So it's downloading that image. No, I don't know why it's taking time. Please, just to be sure, you're all still getting me right.
5 on 5.
Yeah, yeah, bro.
Okay.
Gillian's hand is
Okay,
raised.
just that it was okay. It was taking quite some time. I just had to confirm that what was the issue. Okay,
Gillian, do you have
so
a
I'm going to
question?
just go. Yeah, please go on ahead with the question.
All right.
Okay, so I've just gone to day three. I've created a new folder called images, and I'm going to drop that image there. I'm going to call it avatar, since it's actually an avatar. So after downloading that, I'm going to get the PNG within my project, just like this. So this is the avatar.png, which I actually downloaded from the design. Well, it looks a little bit pixelated, but it's okay. It's fine. Okay, so you can repeat the same process to get the other things from the design. Same things with the icons. Perhaps you can always come here. You can export this as an SVG or a PNG. You can decide which format you actually want to get that image. Whatever the case, it's the same way that you're actually still going to import it within your project. Okay, so let's just see that if I just come here and I use an image tag for now, I just want to display the image so we see that we actually got that image from the design. And I'm going to start the server right now. Okay, so we see this is the image here within my own application, which I just got from the design. Okay, so for today we are just going to see how to design this section of this entire design. We are not actually going to design everything, but just this part of it. So for now, okay, so first of all, when you have a design like this, what usually happens is that you need to be able to visualize how you're going to structure your HTML content, because if you have a very good HTML structure, it's going to determine or define how you're going to write your styles properly. Okay, so let's say for instance we are supposed to design this card. I'm just going to choose this one and pull it out of there, and I'm going to choose this, delete these ones for now, and I'm going to be left just with this one right now. Okay, so what I realized is that all of these things, right, they are probably, we are going to place them at the center of this main card. So they are the center of the main card. So that gives me an idea that I'm supposed to, I'm just going to call this container like that, or container. Okay, I'm going to wrap this within something called container, and the cart is going to be within the container. The container is this box, this blue one, this one here that we see, and the cart is actually standing on its own within that container. Now the card, I'm going to use an article tag. Please, I think the documentation for HTML tags has been provided to you, right? I don't know, Daniel, did you provide that to them? Are you getting me? Am
Yeah,
I
I'm
still on
getting
the
you.
call? Yeah, I don't know. Did you provide them a documentation where they can learn about HTML tags, how to, I don't know when to use what, and I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I get it. I did not provide like a particular documentation for it. Yeah, I just told them that they could visit MDN for, yeah, to get maybe properties and
Oh
stuff.
yeah, then I think MGN is actually enough. It's actually more than enough. MGN, thank you. So now what I've just done is that, sorry about that. Okay, so if you come here, what I've just done is that I've created a container and I've put my cart inside, right? I'm using an article because it's more of like an article. It's speaking about someone. So even though it's a very small article, but it's still speaking about someone. So I'm going to put this container inside of here. Okay, let me just wrap this. This is blue now. So let's just export this one. Okay, wrap. So we have this part above here. It's actually running. Auto layout is actually set on the design. So let's say, for instance, I have this one. I'm going to pull this thing out first. At the topmost level, we have the image and this text at the side. And right below this, we have these other two buttons, these sections down. So I can further divide my card into two different sections, the image and this text, and the two buttons will fall within their own container. So I come here, I have a div for the image and perhaps text. And below this, I have another div with this, let's say buttons, right? I don't know. Do you have any questions to this point? So I explain why I did it like this. Please, any questions?
No,
No,
no, no questions so far. No questions so far.
Okay, so everything is clear, right?
Please,
Yes.
this thing is blocking the actual code.
Please, what's blocking the actual code? Can you say that again?
This white this stuff. The actual
Okay, this
design
design.
is blocking the code. Yes.
Yes, no problem. It's I just went back there to get something. So we have the div with the container, and we have this article, and within the article we have these other two divs, right? The image and text and the group of buttons. So I have it down there. If I come back here, I see that this other guy up here is further divided into two different sections. One to hold the image. I'm going to give this a different background color. I'm going to give this red and another one to hold the text, just like this at the side. So having this, I already have a structure of how this upper container is actually going to look like. I come within this upper container, I may decide to use another div for the image, and down here I use another div for the text, right? So within the image text, we have the button I also wouldn't give. So we have two buttons. So if I get this right up here within this other guy, I can conclude that I should have two buttons within this other guy, just like this. So we have two buttons like that. So this layout, it's something like this. So this is just like a skeleton, a wireframe of what we actually have right here. And if I come here within this, I'm going to have two buttons, button one and button two, the other button. So we can come here, we start getting down different content. So we have the image. Let's put the image right here, like that. Images, uh, and we give an alt text, a descriptive information for our image, just like that. So if we come on the side, this is what we currently have, just like that. The buttons are empty, that's why they appear like that. So we can also get this text directly from here. You can scroll here, you can copy it from here, or what happens is you can just click on this thing, you double click on it, then you copy directly from here. And when you come here, you're able to paste that. So I'm going to use an H2 tag for that. And for the text below it, I'm going to use an H3. So I'm going to click on this one, copy it, come here and paste it just like that. If we go on the side, this is what we currently have. Deborah Stephens and Maryland police, blah blah blah, gotten from this thing. So we have follow for the first button. I'm going to come here, and for the second button, we have message, just like that. So this is how it's going to look like. So if we come on the side, this is what we need to go. Right now, we are going to be this is going to be dealing with these icons precisely. So we'll have another session where we'll talk more about icons, how to handle them properly. For now, we are going to leave out the icons. So now what I'm going to do is that you can also click on the design and get the different colors I'm sure while you guys were coding, I think is it day one or day two? Let's see. Okay, you had this thing, the body where you set the height, align items and everything to the center so that you'll be able to see the contents at the center. Now I'm going to show you something else. You come within this stars, there is this document selector, the star selector. If we come here and we use star document selector MDN HTML, we can read more about this thing. Where is that thing? Let me see. I hope it's this. No, this is not it. Star CSS. Let me use CSS. CSS selectors, blah, blah, blah. How does star selector mean in CSS? What is a selector? A CSS selector is the first part of a CSS rule, like what I was showing you that you guys did in the previous lessons. This thing. So this is a selector. So you're selecting the body of your entire HTML document from the last class. And also when you did this H2, what happened was that you were able to select this H2, right? The elements that had the H2 tag from your website, and you were able to style it properly. Now, if we come back here, we keep reading about the star. It is a pattern of elements and other terms which tells the browser which tell the browser which HTML element should be selected to have the CSS property values inside the rule which has been applied to them. Okay, that's grammar. What does all of this grammar mean? Let's just go back here. Now, what you realize is that immediately I put here something like, let's say, margin 0, and we come back to the site. Who has noticed any difference? Please, who has noticed any difference?
Please come again.
Are we there? Yes, please, who noticed any difference?
For me, I said please come again.
I've not noticed it.
Uh,
I've noticed a difference.
yeah, please state the difference.
All right. Initially, there was a gap from the beginning, but now it has been shifted to the left direction, which means there's no
Yeah,
gap
so
actually.
yes, exactly. If I comment this out again and I come here, we see the gaps. So by default, the browser actually comes with these default margins and spacings which we don't want throughout our application. So usually you have this document selector, the star, this thing. It selects the entire document and applies styles to it. Let's just say, for instance, if I do here a border of 1 pixel, let's just say black, like that, and we come back here. So it selects all the elements on our page and applies that styles to them. So we see the image is within its own box. These other guys, they are within their own boxes, just like that. So it selects every div, all the dividers that we have, every divs, and I think it also selects, I think, the articles and applies this border around them, because if you see the buttons, right, it didn't actually apply to the individual buttons, but to their parent container, and that was the div which these two buttons are actually found inside. So this thing applies a star to every element within your website. So by default, usually we have margin 0 and padding 0 set within this guy to override these default stylings that the browser actually gives us. Okay, now we are going to see many more of them as we proceed, but for now, I wouldn't want to just be adding them to flood your head right now. As we are going, you're going to see how we are going to apply much more default stylings within this guy that will actually aid the process. Okay, if we go back to our designs now and we realize that everything is at the center, this thing was actually at the center. We simply just pulled it up there because we wanted to see reference from this thing. So right now, to do that, I'm going to close this. So to do that, I'm going to divide my screen like that. Okay. Um, Now we have the container, which is acting as the parent of our entire application, right, or our entire website. So I'm just going to create this to CSS and HTML demo cart design. Okay, I just changed the title of the site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come and select the container, right? So we use the CSS selector, the dots to select classes, right? You learned that, right? Did you learn about the different types of CSS selectors yet?
No, not yet. We did not
No,
cover classes and ID.
No, you didn't talk about
This
selectors.
class within our CSS and apply role CSS objects. You already see that it says we are selecting the elements with the class of container from our HTML, and they are linked at these points. So it's going to go, and anything that has this dot is going to be selected. So for the card, let's give this an ID for now. Well, let's just give it an ID. So now, how are we going to select this card? We are going to see that soon. So let's first of all start with the container. As we are proceeding, we are going to see how to use these different CSS selectors to select different elements on our application. First thing, I'm going to give it a width of 100%. So the container spans are full width. Let me give it a background of black. So we observe this behavior. So if we come here, we see that it has stretched out full width. It's occupying the entire screen. And I'm also going to make it occupy the entire height so that I'll be able to centralize this content at the middle of this container properly. I'm going to come here and I'm going to give it a height for now of 100 view height. We are going to see how to work with responsive view heights very soon later on. So right now I've just given it 100 view height. That's the vertical height, the viewport height, right? It should occupy this entire height. So CSS units, I think we would have to prepare some documentations and send, so you people have to go through this so that when we are speaking during the class, it's not going to actually be something very, very strange. So since we now know that this container is actually occupying the entire screen, now we are going to choose the card. Let's just give it a background of white for now, of this color. Well, all of these things, we are actually going to pick them from our design setup, but since we are still observing, let's just see what happens. We realize that the card is actually occupying the entire width, the container, which we don't actually want. We want it to be like on the design. The card is actually occupying its own space, just like that, but not the entire width of our container. And to get the background of that container, we can just click on this design. We scroll down here to inspect. We see background here. We can get this background property. We get it from there, and we come here instead of this black from space, the entire width of our container. We use the width property and we just say fit contents like that. So now what fit content does is that it's going to make this card occupy just the spacing needed, just the right amount of spacing needed for its contents to be visible, right? For you to be able to see it. So as long as the contents are not longer than this, it's going to occupy just that width. Now, how do we bring it to the center of the screen? Please, any questions before I proceed on anything? Are we there?
Okay,
For me,
I would
none
like
for
to
now. I
ask,
don't know about
like,
the others.
Yeah, you like to ask what?
please, can you go back to the code?
Okay.
Yes, just looking at the design, right?
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to start by creating a div with a class of container and later on followed by an article with an ID of cat?
Okay. Anyway, Can you get me?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Before beginning, right, I said that right now, H or the way you structure HTML can vary from person to person. Is that okay? So approach which I use, but later on you could probably modify it to suit your own taste later on once you have mastered the concepts properly. Because right now what happens is, okay, I'm supposed to design this card, right? This card, and it's within this other main card. I want this card to be at the center of my screen. So right now I assume that this is going to actually act as a container which is wrapping my card within. Is that okay?
Okay, okay.
Yes. Then now for the card, I said we use an article since it's actually describing something about someone, location, and everything. Most of the times it's like a news, right? You can click there, you message the person, you can see an information about the person and the person's location. That was why I decided to use an article. Is that okay? Then we went now further. We broke down the card that it is further divided like this. That was how we were able to get all the divs that we actually have within the article itself. This thing, the div that holds the image and the text, and the div that holds the buttons. So it was gotten from this little wireframe that we did here. This is the image. This is the section that has these two text. This is the section that has the two buttons, and these are the two buttons within. So I took this to be a div, and this to also be a div that is actually going to hold these two text. I took this to be a parent div, and I took these two within, which are going to be buttons. So we used buttons for these two. So depending on what you have on your design, it's actually going to give you an idea of what type of thing you should use or which tags to actually use within this thing. Now there are other good design systems, but since we simply got this one from somewhere, we don't have access to their design system or the different things that they use to actually be able to come up with this. But now, usually, when you click on this thing, you're able to see the tag which was actually used, usually, but though not very all the time or very often. From this design panel, you're able to see this was an H1 and H2 or whatsoever thing. So we just got this from somewhere. We just downloaded this and imported so that we can be able to design. So right now, we are simply just trying to use our initiative to know which tags to use. Is that okay?
It's okay, it's okay.
Okay. So if you come here right now, we ended here, and I was like, how do we bring this card right now to the center of the screen? So when we use display flex, what happens is it's going to align items. Let's say if I had this card, we use display flex within the container. Let me copy this card again. Let me paste it twice like that. I'm going to comment out this display flex so you see how it looks like first initially. So right now, this is how the two cards are actually placed at side by side to each other. Sorry, one on top and the other one down. But as soon as I add this display flex, what happens is that it now gives me that possibility to move these elements within this container. So they are flexed, right? Like how they just you're free, you're flexed. So you can do whatever thing you want to do. So it's literally the same thing if you want to consider how people usually say it. And flex means you're free. You want to be able to do whatever thing you want to do, go wherever where you want to go to. So it's literally like the same sense or the same idea. So these things we can move them properly or place them wherever we want within this container. So if we come here, we can use now the other item. Now display flex automatically sets these items to this format at aligning them on the same line, just like this. Then also, if we come here, the flex direction initially is already set to row by default. Like if we do row, we don't have any changes. But what happens if we have column here? We specify how the item should be flexed within our container. So it goes back to initially how they were. So we don't actually need this property right now. As we proceed, don't bother. With more exercises, you'll be able to know how to use these different things properly. So I'm going to align items to the center. So when we do align items to the center, from the top to the bottom, it's going to put these two cards at the center of our screen, horizontally. Oh, no, sorry, vertically. Yes, this is the y-axis, vertically. And when we do justify content center, it's going to align these two things to the center of our screen like this. So both horizontally and vertically, we have everything aligned to the center, just like what we have on our design. So this is it centralized within this main container, just like that. Okay, now, but there is something really odd. Like if I delete this other card which we recently just added, and I come here, when I remove justify content center and I come here, okay, now for this case it actually still works. We are able to align this thing horizontally, but there are some cases, especially when dealing with text, when you have two things, instead of using align items, justify content instead works. In that scenario, it actually does what was intended for align items to do, that's arranging items vertically. So don't be surprised if somewhere I interchange, instead of align items I use justify content center. It just depends on how your container is structured. So they may vary, and the amount of elements that you have within that container. So one may actually act as the other in some cases. Very rare, but in some cases, which we are obviously going to see them. So justify content center, and when we come here, we have the card at the center like that. So let's come back here right now to this. Now, if I click on this card, I'm able to see this thing. So I simply double clicked on the card. When you double click on this card, you're able to see this spacing at the top. This is 64. The spacing at the right, 64. The spacing bottom, 64, and the spacing to the right. This is the right, the top, this other side, and this other side. So I assume that they used a grid system for these designs. So if you come here, we have this spacing. So we can go there within the card and we use that idea. We use padding just like that. If we come here, we see that the contents are no longer touching the sides of these cards, so they are all at the center. But now we realize something a little bit odd, right? Because it's like the size of the card, I don't know if it has been increased or whatsoever thing. Let's use a fixed width. Let's get the width of this card. So if I click on this card again and I go to the inspect, I scroll down, I'm able to see the exact width which was used for this card and the height. Because there is a concept which we are not actually going to talk about it today. Like I said, responsive height. We are going to work more of that later on, because this idea is just to bring out this card as it is, right? So we are going to talk about responsive designs later on. Like that's when you go to mobile, when you go to tablets, how they should look like. I'm going to just copy this width right now. I'm going to hard code this width actually, and I paste it here. That is 4976 pixel. Okay, now if I come back here, we realize that let me inspect to see what height this is actually. If this is actually what we got from this design, because if we see here this 497 pixel, this thing actually looks a little bit bigger than the usual. If I use this selection tool and I come on this card, please, can you see these values up here where we have article hashtag card 625 by 300? Can you all see that?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so but we said
Yes.
that this card should have a width of 400 and something pixel, but now it is having 625 by 300. That's 625 width and 300 the height, which we don't want, right? We said, hey, please occupy this, get this 497. Now, what actually happened? Remember, we have this padding 64, 64, 64 all round, but this 64 does not affect the width of this thing. But in our code, it actually does, because if we come here, we write 64 plus 64 plus forward. Let me see. Um, 497, 497, 97. So if we actually do this, we get 625. So the padding has contributed to the width of our container, which we do not want. So how do we solve this problem? There is another property that we actually add here within this box size and border box. Now, what box size and border box does is that irrespective of the width and the height, if we state this padding should still be contained within this given width of our application. I'm going to remove that other width. We needed just this one. So width 497. So this padding should not increase this thing by any means or by any chance. So it's always going to fit in within the container. If we come back here right down, we see that our container has actually reduced in size. It's no longer that long as it was before. If we uncomment this thing again, we have a look at this, we see it's longer. And when we come back here, we uncomment it, we come here, we see it has reduced. Let's inspect and see the height, the width, sorry. If I choose this and I hover over this now, so what do we see up there, please? Someone should please read it. Are we there?
Yes.
Up, upward, please.
Yes, someone should please read now what width we have.
Can you please zoom? It's a bit blur.
There should zoom. There's a bit blur. Prince, are you still there? Maybe he has
Bro,
issues.
I'm listening.
Can you all get me now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I think my network broke at a point. Let me just share my screen again.
You broke at the
I
point
don't
where
know
you
why
want
I
to
can no
make.
longer. Okay, I can share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so like I was saying, if we
Yes.
inspect this and we come here now, what's the width now that we have? Yeah, please, what's the width that we have?
Excuse me. Is it that one by that article card?
Yes,
Is it
exactly. I think that was
300
That's
uh
497 by 300.
yeah.
by
So we see that it's
300?
so initially how many did we have up there?
No.
We have 600 and something, right? 625.
Yes, yes.
Yes, because of the padding, we did this calculation 64 plus 64 plus 9497, which gave us this thing.
Oh, okay, okay.
Prince, are you still there?
So if we come back here now, we are almost done with the layout for the card, except for some few details. Okay, now if I choose this card, I come down here, I realize that the edges are round. I scroll down and I get this border radius of 32 pixel. The edges are round, right? This thing, the edges, if you look at it, they're actually round, but ours is really sharp, not like what we have on the design, and we added here. So Figma will also help you know these units properly. So while you're coding, you can be getting each and every one of these units and you test to see what they actually change. This way, you also learn the CSS values or the CSS properties very quickly. You don't have to suffer too much. So if we come back here and we go here, we see that we actually have this now. Okay, now I have a question. How did we arrange two cards on the same line initially when we had this container? When I copied and pasted this card, what property did we use to align these items to the center, side by side to each other?
Display
I think we
flex.
used the display flex.
Okay. So looking at the image and this text section, what do you think we should do for them to be on the same line?
From
We we change the layout,
from
right? We display to flex.
Exactly. So we are going to select this image text, the dot, since it's a class, and we apply display flex to it just like that. So if we apply display flex to it and we come here, we see that the image is actually on the same alignment as the text, except for that the text is not at the center of the image, like what we have on the design. So to do that, we need the align items center, right? Horizontally. So if we come here, we have them like that. So the text is actually at the center now of this image, like what we have here. But we also realize that the text is not touching the image. So if I click on this text section, I double click again until I've selected this and I go on the image. I hold the Alt key and I go to this image. What happens is someone raised the hand or something. Okay, left the call. Okay, so if I come here and I come this way, I see this 16 in between. You hover over this, you hold the Alt key, and you come this way, you see 16. So the spacing between these two things is actually 16. And the spacing from this text up to this other text down is 8. So we click on this one, we hold the Alt key, we hover over the text below, we see 8. If we come this way, we see 16. So what happens is we can use the gap property, 16 pixel, just like that, to separate the image from this text. And that is what we have. We produce this spacing in between. Now, if we come back here now for the text, the h2 tag. So we are saying that we go within the div, the elements with the class of text, like that. We choose the h2 tag from it, just like this. So this is it. The elements with the class of text, we move inside and we choose h2, and this is it. Elements with the class of text, we choose the h2, and we give it a margin bottom of 6, is it 8 pixel, right? Yes, 8 pixel. The spacing between these two things. So we see that this guy has been shifted away from this guy by a value of 8 pixel, just like what we have right here. Now for the buttons, we can click on this button. We realize that the buttons actually have the same height. If we come here, we have 59 pixel. The same thing for this one, 59 pixel, and they fill out the entire width of this given container. Now, how do we know they fill out the entire width of this container? If I pull this container like this, let me release this and hold the container itself. Okay, I think I detached something. Okay, I deleted the other portions of the design, so we will not actually see that behavior right now. Okay, now what happens is if you click on these buttons, you see this thing here. It says hug. Now, this thing simply means that if we expand this thing, it is supposed to follow, right? The width is supposed to follow this container. So we are going to come here, we are going to select the buttons like that. So button, we select all the buttons within. The buttons dot buttons is for the div with the class of buttons, and we select the buttons within. So we can give them a width of 100% like that. If we come here, we see that they have stretched out and they have filled this entire thing. and they have a height of that's not it. Let's get the height directly from the design. 59 pixel. I'm going to get that and bring it right here and paste it there. So if we come here, that is that. And if we come back here right now, let's say for instance, the spacing from this top section to the buttons is 40 pixel. So we can just do here image text margin bottom 40 pixel for it to shift these buttons down. And if we come back here, we see here that we have this nice spacing between this top section and the buttons. Now, if we look again on the designs, we realize that the buttons have a border radius. Let's scroll down. A border radius of 8 pixels. So we get that these round edges. So we get that, we come here and we apply it to the buttons. If we go back to the side, this is what we get. They are rounded. Okay, now what next? We also see that they have different backgrounds, right? Or the spacing. Let's first of all deal with the spacing between the two buttons. The spacing from here to here is 16 pixel. So we are going to come here and we are going to give these um the buttons. Now, there was something I wanted to do, but we are not going to do that this class. We are just going to write here one. We are going to give this guy a class of one. We do dot one. So instead of selecting all the buttons, we select one of them and we give it a margin bottom of 16 pixel, just like what we have right here on the design. So if we come here, that is it. The two buttons have been spaced out from each other, just like that. And if we go, we click on this first button. Let's start with it. It has a background color of this and a color of white. The color of this is white. So if I come here, this is it. We are going to apply it here. So if I come here, this is it, and I'm going to change the color of the text to white, just like that. So we see that it's actually white. We can also get the size of this text directly from here. So if I click on this text, I see that the font size is 18 pixel and it has a font weight of 500. Yeah, just 500. Font weight of 500 in its texture, the thickness, right, of that. So we come here and, well, we, since the two buttons have the same properties, they have the same text with the same font size and the same font weight, we just apply to this other guy, not to this one. We don't want to be very specific. And if we come here, this is what we get. So an increase in the sizes of this text. We haven't yet gotten the sizes of this one yet. We are going to come back to this later on. Okay, now for the buttons, we realize that they have this dark border. We don't want it. Buttons, only this one down here has a border. If we come here, this is it here. Border of 1 pixel, this thing. We don't want the button should have that. So initially, let's remove the borders for all of them, border none. If we come here, we have them like that without borders, just like that. And if we come back here right now, and if we come back here right now for the second one, it has a border of this, and the background color is white. So we can come right here, we give this guy its own class of two. We do dot buttons dot two. We paste that and it has a background of white, just like that. So if we come here, this is it. We have just like what we have on the design presently, message and the follow button. Now let's get the sizes of these other guys. Of this first guy up here has a font size of 24 pixel and a font width of 900. So we copy that and we come here. Dot text h2. This is it. Dot text the h2. We add those styles to it like that. So font weight of 900 and font size of this. So dot text h3 now. The second one, this one, dot text h3. We get the size from here, the font weight and the size like that, the font weight and the font size. Well, for the other properties, don't bother that we are not using them. They aren't just actually it's not everything here that is actually necessary when you're actually coding. Just a few, they are simply just guidelines. at times if you get all of these things, you will not get the expected output, you will not get what you need. So it's better when you need something, you come and you get it. If something looks different, you go there and you get it before you proceed. So the font size is that, and the font weight is that. If we come here, this is what we get. So we have actually fixed that, except for one thing which is still lacking, the color. So the color of the text is this. I don't know if it's the same. Okay, they have the same color. So usually, if they have the same color or the same properties, we could just do the text h2, the text h3 right here, and we paste that like that. So a comma, the first row and the second one. So it's going to apply it for the two of them, and we have that the colors have actually changed and they are looking different. So we are not actually going to dive into changing fonts families so they look like what we actually have, because these fonts, the fonts used here is Meriwether. But what we currently have on our own site is, if we inspect and we use this tool and we hover over this thing, we see that we are actually using times something. It's that's it of the Times New Roman, which is not actually what is being used on our design. Designs from this platform where I design daily. So this is what we had to look at today, and that is that we actually have that card already designed and implemented. I don't know if there are any questions so far.
Please, I have a question. I have a question.
Yes, go on.
Please remove this design. Let's go to the code. Okay, where can you get me?
Yes, I'm getting you.
Okay, like for this, I don't know, I don't know what to call this dot and this hash, but I think I've seen them somewhere. Like it applies specifically for class ID. My problem is this one. Like, see this one, this one's the first one.
Okay, this one and this two.
Yes. How? Why does this I buttons dot one, I buttons dot two, but the others, that's the previous one, there is no dot within. Like even these ones that they have their classes. Okay, for example, this div class, the image text. I don't know. I was thinking we will have something like, you know.
I
I think
didn't
I get
understand
what
your question clearly. Please, can
I think I get what he's talking
yes.
about. So basically, Fritz, what you're talking is, if you see there's dot buttons and there's button. So now that dot buttons now targets the class. So it
Okay,
targets
yeah.
the class and the tag for the next tag that is after is within the first tag that is within that div, just the normal tag. But now if you see a dot, that means they're targeting the class within the next tag. I hope, does that answer your question? Fritz.
Please, I think my network.
Target the class. If I hover over this, we see up here the element refers to the class of the buttons, and it targets the class within that buttons.
I'm following.
It's like Prince has network issues. Basically now, Fritz, the thing is, when you see dot buttons and you see buttons without a dot, that means it's targeting the next tag within that button div. But now if you see dot buttons, then you see dot one, that means it's targeting the original div class and the next class in the next button. So that's just it. Is it clear?
Okay, okay, okay.
Because if you see here, like for this div class buttons, right, you have dot buttons then button. So that dot buttons, then button is targeting. Oh, Prince has stopped sharing screen. But basically, you get the point, right?
I get a point. Like my problem is that
Uh, can I add to what Daniel is saying, Aliko?
Sure, you can.
All right, Aliko, what Daniel is trying to say that we have the dot buttons, right? In that dot buttons, we have another class titled dot one. So within that dot buttons, there is another class titled dot ones. That's why we have the dot buttons dot one.
I don't know. Did Is your question answered?
we don't have dot class. The class is one and two.
The classes 1 and 2 there fit look very well.
I think what I'm saying, like my worry is why don't we have dot button and like as we have dot buttons dot one? That's my only worry.
Okay, I said, can you get me?
I can get you. I can get you.
I was saying that right. Dot buttons and button without the dots signifies that we are selecting an element by tag name, which is this. So we want to apply this same style to all the buttons.
All right, Aliko.
Same radius, the same weight, the same font
Hello,
size,
Aliko.
and
Get me.
yes, you said something.
I'm getting you. I'm getting you. I'm getting your
Yes.
money.
Then for buttons dot one, we are selecting this specific button because it does not look like this one. So after we apply the general styles to all of them, we now want to style them individually. Like this one has a lot of stuff. So this one has a background, but the background of this one is white. This one has a border, but this one does not have a border. I don't know if you get it, Fritz.
I'm
With
getting. I'm
that,
getting.
I don't know if there are no further questions. Then, I think that was what was prepared for today, and